Welcome back to Crimson Cast. Gracie Ybarra, Galen Clavio, and Galen. This is like maybe the worst couple days where you are so basketball saturated, and then there's nothing.
Basketball saturated is the phrase I've been looking for to try and describe my brain. I mean, I feel like I got it worse than you did, although we should probably explore that a bit. You had like deep basketball saturation. I had wide basketball saturation. You were at one site and got every moment of 4 games and then 2, whereas I watched like 32 games and it was more than I could handle. I'm still coming down from it. And here it is. It's like it's Tuesday and I really just feel empty inside right now.
I'm like, oh, I can't put on a quad box right now. What am I supposed to do?
You can, but it's got like, like CNNs in one corner and you're watching like a replay of a podcast from Barstool and another one. Yeah, there's very scant options. I tried putting some stuff on television last night. I ended up just going to YouTube because I was like, this is too depressing. I can't handle this, the setup of programming.
We're almost through it though. We're almost to like what should be the best weekend of the tournament, right?
It should, although it's kind of sad in a way because, well, okay, I was talking about this with somebody at work today so you had this amazing week, championship week, all this basketball all over the country. And then you got the 2 appetizer play-in game days where you've got a couple of games that just like put your foot in the water. Then you've got boom, big basketball all Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now you figure we've got 4 games Thursday, we've got 4 games Friday, we've got 2 Saturday, we've got 2 Sunday, and then there's only 3 left. Period.
I know, and it gets more like after you finish the round of 64, even like you go to the round of 32 and you're like, wait, I have standalone games now? Like what?
Yeah, it's almost like too much attention. It's like when you go from like playing the field to like just dating one person, and it's like this feels wrong. Like I feel like I should be, like switching channels, so to speak, a little bit more. And I the Elite Eight has always made me feel uncomfortable from that perspective because it goes to a commercial and I'm like, wait, I gotta watch this.
You're like, oh, it's halftime. I have to watch the halftime show.
It doesn't. I think the tournament does a bad job of prepping you for that. And
yes.
So yeah, that's where we're at right now. It's
I would say I'm like going through withdrawals. And even as you get into like the Elite Eight and the Sweet 16, like as you said, you do go through withdrawals even with basketball because you're expecting there to be more basketball because they throw so much at you.
Right. I don't know.
They take it away so fast.
This is my biggest argument in favor of tournament expansion. Like imagine an extra weekend of this.
I don't know if I could do that. Like I'm complaining, but that would be a lot.
Imagine if you weren't covering it.
That's true.
Like on site, like if you could just watch the games and talk about them.
Yeah.
Because I miss like while you were off gallivanting like with a press pass, I was like doing lives in the morning from my deck the day after the games and talking through like, well, here's what we saw. And wow, that was interesting. I miss that. I didn't even have that. Like, I'm not going to do that with NIT games. And I can't do it with the portal because as we'll talk about, the portal doesn't even open for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm out of things to complain about now.
You're out of sorts.
Out of sorts. I'm out of that too. I'm out of a lot of things right now. But what we're not out of is great apparel from Homefield Apparel as they continue to be the place to go for the finest in college fashion. And, if you've been following along on social, they've had some great stories and great individual drops throughout the course of February and March. Did you see the some of the new collections that they've dropped here lately? Like there was a denim thing that they had come out lately that was interesting, although it was Kentucky based, so that we can't really take advantage of that, unfortunately. But in the Indiana area, there's tons of different things that are basketball related, and did you see those the mesh shorts that they dropped lately?
Yes, those are like awesome because they remind me of my basketball practice shorts from high school, but like fashionable.
Yes. They have a new heavyweight hoodie that I'm very intrigued.
I love a heavyweight hoodie.
I don't think I've ever worn a heavyweight hoodie. Like I'm intrigued. Connor recorded a great video about it, but I'm still not sure. Like, what's it like?
Do you feel like you should get like a tester?
Right. Yeah. Like just something kind of like a Stitch Fix kind of thing where they send it to me. I like it, I'll keep it. Homefield Stitch Fix actually feels like a product idea that needs to happen, right?
I think that a lot of people would end up keeping a lot of things. Be genius.
Another new snapback hat for IU, some great basketball tees, all of that on the Homefield Apparel website. So go to homefieldapparel.com, use the code HOME23, get 15% off your first order. And we, as always, appreciate working with the Homefield folks. I'm going to have some info on an event next week that I'm going to share with everybody on the show. I'm not right now. It's a tease. You got to come back next week so we can talk about it. But Homefield's going to be in Indy. There's going to be some Indy-related Homefield things because, of course, the Final Four is in your hometown, Grace. Yes.
Yes. And you know what? We had a lot of people talking about host cities and sites because we talked about that. No one does a Final Four better than Indy. I'm going to go out there and say it.
I mean, I think what are the competition for that? Like, who does it well?
I would say New Orleans did it well, but that's like the only other one I've been to recently. But Indy, it's just like the perfect time of year for it in Indy.
Yes.
Speaking of, have you seen the Indianapolis Final Four TV ads where they replace the Soldiers and Sailors monument in the circle with the national championship trophy?
No, I haven't seen this yet.
It's just this massive national championship trophy in the middle of the circle, which is like kind of clever, but it looks so funky.
I'll check this out. This is new to me, but
it's like I don't know. It tripped me out the first time I saw it, but I think you'll appreciate it.
I'll look at it. I'm glad you alerted me to this.
It'll be good too because the last time they hosted the Final Four, it was COVID.
That's right.
The whole bubble one. So
no one could go. That's right. What was the time before that?
Before that was that when Wisconsin was it 2015? Or did they host one before that?
No, I think you're right. I think it was 2015. I don't think there was one in between there. And then they did, of course, 2010.
Yeah, so it's like every 5 years.
Yes, that was, I think, the deal. I actually, I've been to multiple Final Fours in Indy. It's better as a Final Four host site than it was as a Super Bowl site, even, which is weird to think about. But it just there's something about the vibe of that many basketball people being in Indianapolis that just it comes across better than. Did you go to the football national championship when it was in Indy?
I didn't go to the game, but I was there that weekend, and it was hilarious watching Georgia and Alabama fans try to figure out sleet. Like we were going into the Kilroy's downtown, and they were like walking in like pissed off. They had no idea how to handle the situation, and they were like, "This is why I should never be up north." I was like, "Okay, calm down."
All right, guys. Like, we don't complain when it's 120 degrees and we show up.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was the last time we had a full SEC national championship. So they got what they wanted, and it was to not be included in it anymore if they're going to complain.
That's correct. Yes. See, just take what's given to you and be nice.
Yeah, appreciate it.
That's right. We are also brought to you by Posh Hotel Bloomington, the finest in luxury accommodations in town. They're located at the corner of Kirkwood and Washington Streets in downtown Bloomington. And honestly, like I always say, next time you come to Bloomington, you want great amenities, you go to the Posh Hotel. I don't know if they've got rooms open, but if you're going to the Final Four and you're coming in from out of town, it's not a bad option now. You rent there, you check out a room there, you reserve a room.
It's a library book?
Might be. And it's less than an hour from there to downtown Indianapolis now. But Posh Hotel, great for all your Bloomington excursions. Be sure to go to poshhotelbloomington.com and check them out there. Also, one final sponsor to give you, Atlas of Memories Travel Co. on Facebook. Mesa Stillwell, going to get you taken care of for all of your vacation needs. You can go to her Linktree, which is just Linktree/Atlas of Memories Travel Co. And all kinds of great buttons there. You can request a vacation quote. You can request a quote for travel insurance. She also helps out with tickets to concerts and sporting events and works with a ton of vendors all across the vacationing world, including Royal Caribbean, Virgin Voyages, and even talks about baby equipment that you should take on the trip. So again, check out Mesa Stillwell and Atlas of Memories Travel Co. You can message her on Facebook. All right, Grace, you got an opportunity to do some coverage this weekend in St. Louis. As many know, your part-time gig, when you're not hosting Crimson Cast full-time, you're a reporter and anchor for KMOV in St. Louis. And so you got a chance to cover the first and second rounds out there. What was the experience like? Give us all the details.
Yeah, it was different because the only time I'd ever covered like first and second rounds previously, I was just covering one team. And we were fortunate. We had Missouri here in St. Louis, so that was good. That was a local team that we could cover. But they got bounced pretty quickly. So it was interesting because we got to cover it from a perspective of like very broad. Like I'm not just going into Mizzou's locker room. So it was awesome because I got to interact with a bunch of different teams and fan bases and learn a lot of things. And it was awesome too to see like a hockey arena set up for basketball games. And I don't know, there was just so much going on, so many media members too coming in because we had teams like Iowa State, Kentucky, Purdue, Mizzou. Oh my gosh, there were so many people there from Mizzou. So it was busy, good, fun, and we got some good teams.
Yeah, it was a very interesting group. And I mean, I've enjoyed watching Iowa State all year, and certainly Purdue has been very good throughout the course of the season. You didn't get some of the like down to the wire games that were at some of the other sites, but you did get one that was like that, which was pretty nuts. So we talk about that, the whole game with Kentucky and Santa Clara and what went down with that.
Yeah, so that also was our first game of the entire weekend. So I'm like, how we got our hopes up like right away, and everything was just like downhill from there. Not that they were bad games, but like nothing's gonna live up to that. So I was watching in a few different spots, and then as the game, we were at like the maybe under 8 or something, and I went and watched from the floor, but I didn't have a seat, so I was just kind of standing off to the side, but I was standing next to the Santa Clara fans. And it was like fun to watch them react to everything. And then, of course, we get down to the final minute and it's tied at 70. Santa Clara's, I believe, Alan Graves hits the 3. And, CBS has very, very strict rules on recording.
Let's time out. Let's talk about that. So for those of you who don't know this, like it used to be that everybody was really sensitive about allowing reporters to record video, and everybody wanted digital rights, and most of the places have backed off from that. But college basketball has not. They are very militant. It's like you will not shoot video of anything going on the floor, which for you as a television reporter is kind of the whole purpose of why you're there in the first place, right?
Yeah, it does give me like kind of a chill out time during games because I can't shoot it, so it's nice. But with that, because I knew if I shot anything of it on my phone, like I wasn't going to be able to use it. So I kind of just shot like that Santa Clara shot from my phone for like personal use so I could have it in case it went in. Obviously it does go in, but instead of like staying on the action, I immediately pan to the Santa Clara fans all next to me because I'm like, well, I can record the Santa Clara fans. CBS and the NCAA aren't going to like come after me for that. But if you watch the game, you know that like 2 seconds after the Santa Clara shot goes in, Otega Oweh's shot goes in. So my back is fully turned from the court because I don't think I had processed how much time there was left. And, like all these people next to me are going crazy. They hadn't been to the tournament in 30 years. Like all of them had traveled from California. They were really excited. So I was like trying to capture the emotion of that. And then like recording it, and you just see everyone hit like the surrender cobra and like they just like shock. And I turn around and I'm like, how is it 73-73? What happened? And it took me a second to like pull it up because the service was bad on the court. And I'm like literally what just happened? I have no idea what just happened.
We actually have the footage that you sent me.
Oh, good.
Here it is. Come again.
Crushing.
Yeah.
Just crushing. Wow.
I know. It's I think Santa Clara's head coach described it as like the highest point and then just like the most gut punch moment. And it describes March, I think the best way you could ever describe March is like the highs of it come so quick and then the lows of it are just as fast.
And it was obviously a bit of a controversial ending in that
Yes.
Herb Sendek, longtime coach, who has been all over the place, coached at NC State and Arizona State, he claimed he loudly was calling for timeout after that shot went in because he wanted to get his defense set. They didn't give it to him, he says, and then Kentucky runs down the floor, hits the shot. Now you're going to overtime. I will say when I went back and looked at the footage, I was like, well, you were calling timeout, but you didn't do it fast enough. Like, I'm not sure if I can completely give you credit for that.
Kentucky already had the ball in their hands.
Right. I mean, you were in the press conference as well for that. Like, what was the vibe immediately afterwards? Did it feel legit? Like, was anybody questioning it?
I would really just say Herb was the only one questioning it. The bigger issue, which I don't think Herb knew at the time, was the clock. Like, I don't think the clock started on time.
Right.
So that's what I would have been more upset about if I was a Santa Clara fan. Because, I mean, I think Ortega took like several dribbles and was able to like pull up. That doesn't take 2 seconds. That takes more than 2 seconds.
Well, and it made me think about something that happened. So that game, the shot goes up from Santa Clara, it goes in. Kentucky grabs the ball, runs out of bounds, throws it in, runs down the court. They get the shot off with like 0.4 of a second left. In the Iowa-Florida game, Vulgaris hits the three, and what do the officials do? Do they just let them inbound it and run down the floor? No, they stop the game to go check the clock. And it's like, well, wait a minute. We just had a situation in the previous round where you didn't stop the clock, and they stopped it purely to see how much time was supposed to be left, even though Florida, I don't think, had a timeout. This one seemed more, unless it feels egregious. It feels like, well, that really benefited one team over another in this. And I would rather they did what they did in the Kentucky game where they don't stop the clock, because I hate giving extra timeouts. But if you're going to do it in one, you really got to do it in another.
Yeah, there's no consistency. And I think that 100% benefited Kentucky, even though like having a timeout would have been maybe nice if you wanted to draw up a plan. Obviously, they figured it out and it worked out just fine. But I think they benefited by getting an extra second-ish.
And they were all headed downhill when that came in. And this is where people kind of get confused. It's better if you're the defense to be able to set yourself and see what's coming, rather than for the offense, like you just grab the ball and get going. You're going to figure something out along the way in most cases.
Although you talk about that Vulgaris shot. Florida had the time to get set, and they chose to press.
Just
up to.
We're going to come around to that one. That's a later segment.
Yeah, we'll get there. This is our teaser for it.
It is. Yes, you're right. I'm not saying that when you have the time you'll use it effectively, but one of the things that's bothered me has been the lack of consistency in the officiating across the board in college basketball in general. But that one certainly.
Oh, I actually have an important note from that on that front. I know people were pointing out that there was a referee like celebrating when the shot went in. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was celebrating, more so just like an excited, like it counted. I believe it was that same referee, but I watched the refs walking out of the tunnel, which was the same tunnel that Kentucky walked through. So there were all the Kentucky fans there. He was fist bumping Kentucky fans.
That's not good.
And I was like, you're lucky I wasn't recording. You're lucky I just witnessed that with my eyes.
I kind of like this idea of sneaking Grace in on a press pass to arenas and just having her record officials and their actions.
Oh, I should have.
I like this. Kind of like investigative reporting, but
also me like investigative reporting incognito in the Purdue locker room throughout the weekend. I have a lot of observation.
I want to hear all of these. Well, let's move on to that one then. So Purdue was there. Well, first of all, what the crowds like. It's rare that you get Kentucky fans and Purdue fans in the same areas together. And we know how Kentucky fans generally act. Like, what was that alchemy like with those two groups there?
I would say there were not as many Kentucky fans as I thought there would be. There were the most of anybody, I would say, Iowa State fans.
That doesn't surprise me.
Ton of Iowa State fans, and they were the nicest people. Like, seriously, loved the Iowa State people.
I lived in Iowa. We were an Iowa State radio station that I worked at, so I listened to a ton of Larry Eustace era Iowa State games, and I always loved the Iowa State fans. I've been to Hilton Coliseum. It's actually one of my favorite places to watch a basketball game, and it's not that far, relatively speaking, from St. Louis. What is it, 5-6 hours from
I think
Maine?
It was like 6.
Yeah. So
it was good. Honestly, all the Purdue people were really nice, but people from Indiana just in general are really nice. So, yeah, the Kentucky people were really slow walkers. I don't understand if there's a correlation there. I just don't like slow walkers. Who else was there? Mizzou. There were a lot of Mizzou fans. I guess there were the most Mizzou fans, but they did get sent home early, so yeah, they did not come back Sunday.
I wouldn't have expected them to. So, okay, give us your Purdue locker room observations, because Purdue, obviously, it was a great weekend for Purdue, all things considered. The Queens game was not close. Miami kind of kept it close for a little while and then did not follow through in the last 10 minutes of the game. So it felt celebratory for Purdue in a lot of ways.
Yeah, honestly, it was weird. I went in there after they had just advanced the Sweet 16, and maybe they're just like used to it, but it was not as celebratory as I thought it would be, which I guess I would say Iowa State's was the exact same way. So that's not really unique to Purdue. But I thought it would be more excited. It wasn't. I was in there on Thursday for practice, and that was during the Duke Siena game. And they have TVs in these little locker rooms, and the Duke Siena game was on, and Siena was up double digits. Some of the dudes were like pointing at it and laughing. And I was just like, oh, I know the dudes that were pointing at it and laughing were not on the 2023 team for a fact, because there were only several of them, and it was not those guys. But I'm like, if there's a team that should not be making jokes about a 16 seed being up on a 1 seed, it's probably you guys.
On the flip side, no program would know how funny it is to lose to a 16 seed than Purdue, except maybe Virginia. But that is hilarious. Wow.
Then again, another one of my favorite stories from it was also just in general, I really liked Trey Kaufman run was just like a great interview. I was very not pleasantly surprised. I guess I didn't know anything about how he was, but he was really good and like easy to talk to. But Braden Smith was just like whatever, like I don't want to say like full of himself, because obviously he did just break the record, so like it's substantiated, but you can tell he doesn't like enjoy talking to the media as much. So on Saturday, that was another one of their practice days, he had already had to go up to the podium and do media. So when he comes back into the locker room, somebody's like, hey, Braden, do you want to talk? And he's like, nope, I'm done. Already did my time. And then he proceeds to shove an entire Uncrustable in his mouth. It's literally the funniest thing. And then like Fletcher Lawyer's like, yeah, I'm done too. And he's just like drinking a chocolate milk like protein shake. And then Trey Kaufman went and hid in the bathroom because he didn't want to talk anymore.
Like you're interviewing a 6th grade team.
I know, it was funny, but yeah, I mean, they were all nice. I also just generally enjoy talking to Matt Painter, and I got to at the end of that Miami game, and he's just like, I know Purdue, like IU student media covers Purdue a decent amount, so I think he's always been great to student journalists, at least from what I've watched. But he's one of my favorite coaches to listen to post-game pressers because he's just so like knowledgeable, but talks about ball in like a way that's pretty easily digestible. Yeah. So I enjoyed that. But yeah, those are my funny Purdue stories.
Matt Painter and I share a birthday.
Oh,
a little trivia for everybody out there. So
August babies.
That's correct. Yes. You know, nothing like Virgos in sport. You know, it's a feels like a narrow group of people, but
it was actually especially funny because on Sunday it was me and my coworker Tamar Scher, who also media school grad, So we went into the Purdue locker room together, and I'm like cracking up because I'm like, how in the world did the two of us, two IU grads, end up in this situation and no one has any idea?
It's the business, right? It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was funny.
Two IU alums working in St. Louis who are covering a Purdue practice because that's where they are.
Yeah, it was great.
The big story that came out of that last game, though, that Purdue had was one that you also sent a picture of, which was former IU player Malik Reneau at the concession stand in uniform after the game. What was he buying?
Okay, so that is technically a pizza stand, but I had seen pictures of him with chicken tenders, so I was confused.
It might be that the pizzas, there might be chicken fingers at the pizza stand. Like,
I don't think there are. I don't know. I'm gonna have to double check when I go back this weekend. But this is funny because both in Purdue and Iowa State's locker rooms, which I didn't go to the losing locker rooms, they had food. Like specifically, Purdue had chicken tenders and tater tots, and Iowa State had pizza. I don't know why this was something I was paying attention to, but it was. So I'm like, did they run out of food? Did like Malik not get his food?
Is it possible that chicken tenders were only for the winners, and that they
That's
had,
a good question.
Perhaps they had like a charcuterie plate in the losers locker room or something.
Yeah, they were just giving him like protein bars.
Right. He walks in and it's like, I'm sorry, Malik, here's some olives. Like, yeah, there's I could see it being like, I just really want chicken tenders. Although Nora, the thing, and it was from what we heard.
What's really upsetting to me was that he really wanted chicken tenders and Purdue had the chicken tenders.
Well, was there no managers exist in basketball?
Yeah.
Could you not just have gone to the manager?
Or why did he go in full uniform? He could have put on.
Well, that was the thing that I heard. This was right after post-game media. He was emotional in post-game media because it was the last game of his career. And then he shakes that off to the point where he walks out in full uniform and goes and buys chicken tenders in the concession area and was apparently talking with fans. Fans found him very engaging. And, Malik's a nice guy from everything I've heard, at least with the fans. And so none of that surprised me, but the whole scenario seemed weird.
I'm trying to figure out how he got up there too, because he couldn't just walk through the stands. And if he didn't come in through the media entrance, I don't know if there was a straightforward way for him to know how to get up to the concourse. So he probably went on a little bit of a scavenger hunt to get there.
It wasn't this, but what would have made it funny is if later we found out it was like an NIL stunt. Like he was being sponsored by whatever company was selling the chicken tenders. And so he was like, well, what better way of getting exposure than a guy in uniform who just played a game walking up and buying these chicken tenders right after the game?
I wish I had seen it.
I'm sorry.
It's funny.
It's hilarious. And when it first popped up, I thought it was a joke. And I mean, this is the problem with the AI era. Like, it's not implausible that someone could have taken a picture of the concourse at the Enterprise Center and just had AI insert Malik Reneau in full uniform. But no, this was apparently real.
Yeah, we had multiple angles of it. There were multiple Malik Reneau spottings in the concourse.
Wild. It's funny. If you had, other than the obvious, Malik, what are you doing buying chicken tenders question, would there have been anything that you would have asked him specifically in that moment if you had seen it and somehow run upstairs to be able to catch him before he went back downstairs?
I would have been like, why did they not give you food? And then I probably would have congratulated him on a good career. Been nice.
I think that's right.
But yeah, I think I would be mostly confused because I know everybody else had food.
Yeah. It's the whole scenario just seemed odd. It's very, very, very just a strange situation.
But I'm glad that we got a meme out of it.
I know. I'm trying to figure out how to best meme this though, because it's like both of the pictures are not quite the right angle for it. We'll figure something out though.
Yeah.
We'll get our creative team on it, and yeah. So yeah, I'm glad you had such a great time with covering it all. It looked like a ton of fun, and for those of you who haven't been to a first or second round NCAA basketball environment, it is interesting because the crowd is never full because you've got tickets for all the 8 teams that are there, and they kind of come and go. But you can get some amazing moments. You can also get a lot of moments where you're just kind of sitting there like, when is this game ending?
That was how the second game of the first session on Friday was the Iowa State Tennessee State game, and like everyone left early for that one. Also didn't help that, so temperature wise in St. Louis it was pretty hot days, like 80 every day, and then you're playing games in a hockey arena and they're just pumping the air. Like it was so cold. So a lot of people were really cold on that Friday because nobody dressed necessarily super appropriate to sit inside. And people wanted to leave for that reason and get back outside. So I don't know how many people were there for the Iowa State, Tennessee State second half, but it could not have been many.
Well, if you were an Iowa State fan, you were shell-shocked after like what, the second minute?
Oh, that was actually really interesting too, because I'm in the Santa Clara presser and I walk out of it and I literally see Joshua Jefferson being helped literally in like the tunnel that I'm in. And I'm like, what did I just miss? Like,
Yeah.
what just happened? And the athletic training room was like the rinkside rich people club repurposed into an athletic training room. So I'm like, why is he going into the rinkside club? But then I quickly realized that that was the athletic training room. But yeah, I saw him going back and I'm like, clearly I missed something in the first few minutes of this game. I will also note, I am not a doctor, but I did really, really sprain my ankle badly playing pickleball. Terrible story for me.
When did this happen?
Oh, it happened when I lived in Starkville.
Oh, okay.
And I was in a walking boot for 6 weeks and I had a knee scooter for like 2 weeks, which was exactly what Joshua Jefferson had going on. I watched the injury. It looked a lot like what I did. I don't think he broke it, and they said it was a sprain. So like, I have to imagine if it was anything like what I did to myself, his entire ankle is just like bruised, disgusting, swollen.
Yep.
And I know people are like holding out hope he's going to be back for the Sweet 16, but I like don't fully believe that.
I mean, I'm the wrong kind of doctor, but I have also severely sprained my ankle.
It's bad.
I don't think I've ever told you this story. So the WIUX station house.
How are we starting with this as the scene setter for spraining an ankle?
So there used to be a separate house. It was not in the media school.
Yeah.
It was in a house on 8th Street right next to the Theta house. And so I was in the street Little 5 week with my friend John Kaluter, and we were playing soccer in the street. And I happened to step backwards for some unknown reason right into a large pothole. Shocking, I know, in Bloomington. And sprained, like my foot just went like that, essentially. So was bad, had to get a walking boot. I didn't have a scooter, but it was a real severe sprain. And I started my internship in Indianapolis television the next week. So I spent the first 2 weeks with probably Dave Calabro and the crew being like, why did we hire like the gimpy guy as the sports intern? He can't go anywhere.
Yeah, that was also, I was working in obviously local television at the time, and it was football season. So really terrible time to be immobile because I could not help shoot high school football or SEC football. And I had to stay in-house every day and anchor. It was a rough time, and props to Stefan for putting up with me at that point because I couldn't do anything. All this to say, Iowa State looked really, really good without Joshua Jefferson.
Yes, I was going to ask you, after seeing Purdue against Miami and seeing Iowa State against Kentucky, do you have a feeling on which of those teams goes further into the tournament?
Actually, someone asked me this yesterday. I said Purdue if Iowa State doesn't get Joshua Jefferson back, although I think they can win another game or two without him. But Purdue just looks like they're playing their best basketball of the season right now, which is exactly what you want to be doing, obviously. And for Braden Smith to have as bad of a game as he did, it wasn't bad, but like the amount of turnovers he did, and he wasn't scoring at a high clip, and they can still win by 10. I'm just like, yeah, they're finding ways to win right now. And they are playing the only double-digit seed left at this point.
Yeah, they get Texas. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I was just curious what they look like up close. So that answers that question.
They look very focused too,
Yeah.
like very, very locked in. Also, there's just this whole like connectivity between TKR, Fletcher, and Braden where they're like, we've all been together this whole time. We've gone through the lows and like we want to finish high. So motivation wise, I think they have that all there. But Iowa State looks awesome.
Did you have, I know you were mostly covering the games, but before we end this segment, do you have any other favorite moments or things that you saw from other games across the tournament so far?
Ooh, from other games? I mean, we talked about the Iowa.
Well, we need to talk more about that.
Yeah,
so
can we talk about that again?
Absolutely. So Iowa ends up knocking off Florida, as many of you know. And I mean, great coaching job by Ben McCollum and questionable coaching job by Todd Golden, I would say.
Yeah.
Tough. And this, you get this sometimes with teams that win a national title and then they come back the next year and then they surprisingly lose in the tournament. But this was a real surprise. Like if I had to pick a one seed that wouldn't have lost in the second round, I think Florida would have been my first choice.
Honestly, I was starting to get flaky vibes from Florida, so I'm not like tremendously surprised, but I wouldn't have bet Iowa to be the team to do it. I also don't know, did you watch any of the Iowa post game about how that play came to be?
I did a little bit, yes.
So it was supposed to be Bennett Sturts going downhill, and then Fulgaris comes up to him and is like, I want to shoot it. And I don't think McCollum knew.
Yeah.
Also, out of all the shots, you choose the corner three.
Wherever you're comfortable, right?
Yeah.
It was one of those things where, he takes that shot and you're just kind of like, these guys shoot so many threes now that it becomes kind of second nature. And maybe you feel more comfortable shooting from there. I do think that if you miss that, everybody's like, you didn't need a three. Why did you shoot one there? And yet,
then you're the hero.
Well, but it's also like, if you have the opportunity, it's kind of like going for two when you tie the game or could tie the game with an extra point in football. If you're the underdog and you have the chance to really put your opponent under the knife at the last second and you can hit it, well, great. You'd rather do that because I don't think Iowa would have survived 5 more minutes of overtime in that game because they had given up. They were leading for a while, and then Florida looked like they had taken the game over. That was probably the thing I found the most surprising about that game was at one point, I think with about 2.5 minutes left, Florida was at a 91% win percentage. And, even going into that final possession, it was 88.8%. And then, boom, Iowa hits the shot, and that's that. So I don't blame them for doing it, but it's pretty wild to think about, like, that was a broken play. But you also have to go back to the way the play even unfolded, where I don't know what you're doing if you're Florida and you're pressing in that situation.
You didn't need the ball back.
It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, they were. And Todd Golden post-game talking about his philosophy of potentially fouling up 2.
That was a new one.
That should be like an arrestable offense.
It's just, I'm sorry, sir. You've said something so stupid about coaching that we can no longer let you coach teams. I don't know what he was thinking there. It's kind of like that line from the World Baseball Classic where maybe he just got it confused in his brain about, hey, we don't have to beat Italy because we're going to qualify regardless. And then that ends up not being true. And he just kind of, blanked. In this case, why would you ever do that unless you were just like, well, we don't care. We'll go to overtime. It'll be fine. That doesn't seem like what he was trying to get at, though.
I seen something where I think in one of his previous coaching stops, they had like an analytics person go through and run the numbers on the probability of winning, and it increased your probability of winning by 4%, which does not feel substantial enough. And that he wanted to put someone on the line to try to make 2 free throws in a high pressure situation in hopes that they would miss one. But like,
why would you pick the 4th year or the 5th year senior who feels like a pretty clutch individual? That didn't make a lot of sense to me either.
No, none of it made sense, and they got what they deserved. They didn't. If you're coaching like that, I don't think you deserve to make the Sweet 16.
I'll also note, one of our favorite things is to look at huge runs that opposing teams put on. And
yes.
Florida in that game allowed a 15-2 run and then a separate 13-2 run. So it would have been a miscarriage of justice if they had won that game, given that they allowed both of those things. And they were in 2 separate halves too, which is even crazier.
That's so bad, but I'm happy for Iowa. I think that Iowa-Nebraska game is going to burn Houston down.
It very much could. Like, everybody was concerned about Houston being the home team in Houston.
No, you should be concerned about 3 Big Ten teams in Houston.
It's still nuts that the Big Ten's got three Big Ten teams there. And I like, Brad Underwood had a quote about this where he was like, I'm not worried about it at all. If we get caught up worrying about that, we've already lost. In Nebraska, I've sent you that meme, or that wasn't a meme, it was a graphic where Nebraska fans were louder in Oklahoma City's arena than Oklahoma City Thunder fans have ever been. Like, they set the noise record.
I ate that up.
Oh, I knew that. At the moment I saw that, I was like, that has Grace's email already embedded in.
Did you see them swimming in the canal in OKC, the fans?
I missed that.
Oh my gosh. They were like jumping in I don't know what the canal situation is in OKC. Clearly you can get arrested for that in Indianapolis. But
you might know some people who did. Yes.
Yes.
In particular, yes.
But there were some Nebraska fans just jumping in the canal, and I gotta love it for them, because we said this before the tournament started, that was our team. We wanted to do well. They were happy probably just winning a game.
Yes. And
now they're in the Sweet 16 as the higher seed.
To go from never winning a tournament game to getting to the Sweet 16 is, it's Northwestern did that a few years ago. I think it was a little more than a few years ago, where they made the tournament for the first time ever and they won their first round game. And it's like, oh my God, it's incredible here. Yeah. To be able to go to the regional is pretty cool. And to play Iowa, like,
crazy.
Like, that is a matchup where there've been so many jokes about, like, there's not enough Busch Light in Houston to accommodate these two.
Order more.
I mean, this is going to be like Omaha for the College World Series, but in Houston.
They need to get the Jell-O shots going.
I think they do. Illinois fans are going to be the sane ones in this grouping, which is not normal.
Weird.
Right.
That's saying something.
Yeah. But there were some other good stories. I mean, St. John's making the Sweet 16 again for the first time since 99. Like, them and Iowa, that was the last time they were in the Sweet 16. That game was a rock fight, which had a happy ending if you were a St. John's fan, had a buzzer beater, which was nice. I don't know. The other ones that stuck out for me, I guess, is I'm looking back on the scores. I mean, Nebraska Vanderbilt was one of the better 4 or 5 games I've ever seen. And I think the other one that really stuck out to me was there were just some teams that were so dominant at periods where you're just like, I'm curious who's actually going to beat them. I felt that way about Houston. I felt that way about Michigan in the second half. Like, I thought,
yeah, that was bad.
SLU played a good first half, and then you saw exactly the moment where, like, talent and roster composition took over, and it was like, oh, okay, they are on a different level. So, coming out of that, I mean, it's just like we've got several really good teams that are still in the mix. Houston, Illinois is going to be a really fascinating game. Duke, St. John's is going to be a fascinating game. It's going to be, and then, like, Darius Acuff had a great moment, obviously, for Arkansas. They end up closing out High Point late, and one of the few bright spots for the SEC because they're still alive.
Yeah, what is it? It's Tennessee, Alabama, Arkansas.
Exactly what everybody predicted when the tournament started. Those 3 teams.
Yeah, I didn't see Alabama.
That was frightening. Like, that game, they just obliterated Texas Tech. Like, that game got out of control. Alabama went on a 20-3 run, and it was 27-10 with 9 minutes to go in the first half. And then they went on another 12-2 run at the end of the first half.
It just wasn't even washable at a point. And that was the last game of the night too, where I was like, you know what? I don't need to watch this anymore.
I had the same thought. I was like, oh, I can go to bed slightly early, but I didn't want that because it's like, well, that was the end of basketball.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I just wasted this.
I have to squeeze every last drop out of this, and that ended up being an unfortunately not very close game. So,
And it was obviously all the storylines surrounding Alabama. People were picking them for early exit, and then here they are. But I think Michigan will handle them.
I think you're probably right. Although I will say they are the type of team, they shoot a ton of threes. I think they've over half their shots have been threes so far, and they've hit like a ridiculous number of them. It's been what have they? Let me look. Yeah, in the Texas Tech game, Alabama was 19 of 42 from three. They shot 45% in that game from three, and then in the previous game, they were 12 for 36 from three. So they're just launching. Like they shot in the Hofstra game, they shot 31 2-pointers and 36 3-pointers. And in the Texas Tech game, they shot 26 2-pointers and 42 3-pointers.
That's insane.
They may need to do that against Michigan because I'm not sure if Michigan's so balanced. It's going to be a really fascinating test for them. And Alabama doesn't play defense, but their offense can make up for it.
So are you still alive in the knockout game?
So as I told you on Thursday, I picked Ohio State and Nebraska and got knocked out in the first game of the first day, as is tradition, but I bought back in and I made it through Friday and I made it through Saturday and I made it through Sunday. So I am still alive.
Okay, that's exactly what I did, but I chose Wisconsin because.
Well, we talked about that was going to be the team I chose if I didn't chose Ohio State. So I was just like, I was going to die anyway. It was just how I died.
Yeah, you're right. I was between Vandy, Wisconsin or Vandy, Nebraska, and I picked Vandy, Wisconsin. Made me mad.
Did you buy back in?
I did buy back in. And my Sunday game was St. John's.
Ooh, me too.
Okay, yeah, it was kind of like if I'm gonna go far in this, like I need to make a risky move.
Yes, I didn't think it was that risky. Who are the 4 teams that you picked? Like, who's out for you now?
Oh, I have like it all written down on some things so that I can know. I have burned Kansas. So I did that before the St. John's.
Me too.
Burned St. John's.
Yep.
Michigan State.
Yep.
UCLA.
Okay.
UConn. Iowa. Vandy.
I'd say you're in pretty good shape. I had Ohio State, Nebraska, and then Purdue, UConn, Texas Tech, Kansas, Illinois, and then St. John's. So
I feel really good about keeping Purdue alive.
I think that's a good move on your part, especially now.
I think I'm going to use them Sweet 16.
Well, that's what I was curious about. Not that
I was mapping it out.
This is exactly what I do too. I don't handwrite it because I can't read my own handwriting. But
no, mine is very neat.
You have incredibly neat handwriting. If we were going to rewrite the Constitution, I would ask.
Reduce my handwriting?
Yes. Yeah, I'm really torn about who I'm going to pick for knockout on. By the way, if you don't know what we're talking about, folks.
Sorry, yeah, we've just gone on and on about it.
Jay Horry, occasional Back Home Network contributor and stalwart on the Back Home Network Discord, has a knockout pool, which is, I think, more fun than the bracket in a lot of ways.
I agree.
Because there does feel like there's a lot of challenge in it. You have to pick teams and not get anything wrong. And then when you pick a team, you can't use them anymore. So it gets progressively significantly harder the deeper you get into the tournament.
Yeah, I was talking to Stefan about it, and his Thursday is complicated because he's used Purdue, and I forget who else, obviously wants to save like an Arizona. But I think he has to choose between Iowa and Nebraska.
Ooh. Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
I'm kind of in that spot right now where I'll do what I need to do, but I can't use Purdue on Thursday. I can't use Nebraska. I can't use Illinois. I wouldn't have used Illinois anyway in that case because
I agree.
But I have a limited number of teams that I can go with, and then that even further eliminates your options for if you make it through and make it through the next day. Now you got the Elite Eight, and it's like, well, what do I do in that case? So you got to plan ahead on these things.
Yeah, I do think though, whoever comes out of that Illinois-Houston matchup, I would take them Elite Eight.
I think you're right because
if that's an option to people,
it feels like Iowa. I have a hard time seeing Iowa getting much past the Sweet 16. They could beat Nebraska, certainly. Did they beat Nebraska in the regular season?
I think they had 2 matchups. One of them went to overtime.
Nebraska lost at Iowa by 5 and beat Iowa at home in overtime.
Okay.
There you go.
And that's Illinois and Nebraska split their matchups this year.
Yes. That was one of the many games when Nebraska could not rebound. And that's the thing I get worried about. If Nebraska wins and whoever wins that next game, you either play Illinois, who you couldn't rebound against, or you play Houston, who nobody can rebound against. Feels like a bad matchup one way or the other.
Yeah, so that's my Elite Eight path.
So we'll see what happens with. I'm leaning maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I have not decided yet. So
yeah, I think I like Purdue in the Sweet 16 because I don't see them getting past Arizona. I think
probably not. No,
but I say that and it's going to happen now. So,
well, we'll see. If that's the case, maybe I should use Arizona since you've already reverse jinxed Purdue into the Final Four.
No. No.
Unless you're doing what I do, Grace, and speaking things out of existence. If that's the case.
Yeah. This is also stressful.
It is. That's the great thing about this knockout thing is that it is stressful. And I don't like a whole lot of stress with my sports, but a little bit of stress is helpful.
Oh yeah, that St. John's buzzer beater had both of us on the edge of our seats. At least not stressful in the sense that it was tied.
Well, that's one where it's like it was more annoying. It's like
why did they blow the lead? Yeah.
They led for you're always all these teams. There's some Achilles heel where you're just like, if they lose, this was what happened with Ohio State. It's like this, like they were playing great. They looked good going into the tournament, and I thought in the back of my head, well, the way that there's so many ways they could win this game against TCU. The only way they could lose is if they come out and play like they played in January, and if Bruce Thornton doesn't show up. And guess what happened? The exact same thing. So with St. John's, it's always like, wow, they look really good statistically, and Rick Pitino coaches them, but fundamentally this team can't shoot the basketball. And you're always worried that that's going to pop up, and then it's like, well, we're done. And so I really did think we were done at that point, and then we weren't. So
yeah, we're still. I was like, if this isn't meant to be, yeah. Like if I pick St. John's and they don't win, I'm just going to have a relaxing next weekend of the tournament.
Yeah, so much for that. Well, are you even going to be able to watch the games on Thursday?
I think first pitch for opening day is 3 p.m.
Oh, it's an early game. Okay.
So I should be good. It is funny. One of our news reporters is a Nebraska grad, and he's like our sportsy news reporter. Somebody today was telling me that he was doing opening day stuff. I'm like, okay, well, we got to get him out of there by 6:30. Like, he's got to go watch it somewhere.
This is the biggest sporting event that's hit Nebraska in a long time. I mean, it's funny. There was a whole article today about how I think it was Jason Kirk in The Athletic was like, Indiana and Nebraska have switched sports.
That's exactly what he texted me when I texted him congratulations. He was like, we have just traded places. Like, who would have thought Indiana would win a national championship in football and Nebraska would be in the Sweet 16? But here we are.
It's the miracle of collegiate athletics, right?
I love it.
Speaking of Indiana, and we need to do some Indiana talk.
Yes.
We're on here. But part of the problem is there's really not much to talk about. There's been very.
You don't want to talk about baseball?
Well, they had a great win against Vanderbilt the other day. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they went to Vanderbilt and won.
Was that just a standalone game?
It was just a one-off, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you'll take it.
No, I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And they won 2 out of 3 against Minnesota this weekend. So that's nice. But the basketball stuff has not been great. And it was rough. And, we didn't get a chance to talk about this too much because you've been so busy. But it's a little awkward with Indiana not making the tournament with a first-year coach. Iowa not only makes the tournament with a first-year coach, but makes the Sweet 16. And it's a bit of a struggle, I think, for some IU fans because they're like, why couldn't that have been us? Like, what the heck? Especially
when you look at the path that Iowa's head coach had, and it was the same as Darren DeVries. They coached at the same school.
Well, it's like Darren DeVries's pathway, but with some Kurt Signetti mixed in.
Yeah.
Because you have the whole D2.
D2.
and it's not quite the same, obviously.
So one thing I will present to you, which we can't go back in time now, but if I offered you 2 package deals, Ben McCollum and Bennett Sturts, or Darren DeVries and Tucker DeVries.
Well, I mean, if we're going back in time but still evaluating this entire year, well, certainly Bennett Sturts had the better year.
But nobody asked me last year, but I knew Bennett Sturts was good last year.
But the thing is, I mean, Tucker DeVries was really good when he was
Yeah.
healthy at Drake, and he was injured last year. And I think the idea was he was going to come back and do as well as he had his first junior season. And it's funny you mentioned the comp between Ben McCollum and Darren DeVries, because some people have tried to seize on that. And look, I think what's important to remember is that McCollum was in Division II up until last, like
he did 1 year in D1.
He did 1 year in D1 and had a very impressive year at Drake. Well, so did Darren DeVries. Like Darren DeVries, people forget, made the tournament 3 out of his last 4 years at Drake. He made it in 2021, and they won 26
Got an at-large that year, I think.
That made it in 2023, won 27 games, made it in 2024, won 28 games. So that's where, if you put the 2 resumes side by side and you were like, well, which coach are you picking? Darren DeVries has a better resume. I mean, at the Division I level, and how much we count Division II is always a debate. I think we're starting to see some guys that have coached at the D2 level. Jared Calhoun just got hired by Cincinnati. It's not to denigrate Division II coaches, but not every Division II coach is good enough to come up and coach at this level. So these are long-term things. And as we talked about on a previous episode of Crimson Cast, I think one of the things that Ben McCollum had in his favor was he brought a bunch of players, including Bennett Sturts, with him who already knew his system. And Darren DeVries only was able to bring kind of 1.5 of those guys. And McCollum brought a lot of his staff from Drake. Well, Darren DeVries didn't really have much of a staff to bring. He brought one of them. So I tip my cap to Ben McCollum. I'm not sure if we can do the apples to apples with this.
No, we can't. And hindsight is 2020. But it does
stink.
It does sting a little that there were basically 2 like comparable Drake coaches that were high names circling around, and one of them's in the Sweet 16 and the other one missed the tournament.
Well, it's part of the larger issue that I was going to bring up, which is that this is the problem for Indiana fans. It's the problem for other fans of major basketball programs that aren't in the tournament right now. Baylor fans, if there are any, are probably going through a similar thing where it's just, there's nothing to talk about. Like there's nothing to do. The portal isn't open. You've got names of people who say they're entering the portal. There's nothing really. All you can do is look back on the season and feel embittered.
Yeah, we don't really want to do that.
We don't want to do that, but there's nothing new to talk about. And there won't be new players signed because the portal doesn't open until the 7th. It opens the day after the NCAA championship.
Which is a good thing because it gives everybody, I would hate it if we were in the tournament and then we had to do the whole portal recruitment thing while simultaneously playing in it, but it does suck right now. It feels like they're just sitting on their hands.
I mean, Kurt Signetti managed it pretty well with football.
You're right. He was fine.
The portal opened while I was driving back from Pasadena, and we're reading about Josh Hoover and some of these other guys. But yeah, I mean, it's probably better in that we're not comboing all of these things simultaneously. But then the flip side of it is, for fans like fans of Indiana who didn't make the tournament, there's nothing to do. There's nothing to talk about. There's just recriminations and just kind of like, how did we find ourselves in this spot? And this is something that I felt a lot, and I've talked with several IU fans in our Discord who felt the same way. You watch basketball for 4 straight days. You watch the tournament, and you just feel disassociated from it when your team's not participating. And it's tough because Indiana still, I think, has the 3rd most Sweet 16 appearances of any school in the Big Ten. And yet Indiana's only been in the tournament twice in the last 10 years. This isn't just like, hey, we missed it, but we'll be back next year. It's like, well, we missed it again, 3rd year in a row. And I've given up trying to tell people how to process that. I really don't. I mean, how do you process that?
I don't think there is a way to, right? At some point, you get so far removed from any semblance of sustained success that it doesn't feel close anymore. And that if Indiana did get back to the Sweet 16, it would almost feel like some of these miracle runs by other teams, right?
Right.
Like, I'm not going to say it's like an Iowa situation because it hasn't been since 99, but like, I don't know. It doesn't feel close.
No, that's the issue. And that's the last thing maybe on this. It's like, you don't even know what you're building off of at this point. And it is where, if you look at the rosters, you can take some hope if you're Indiana, because you look at the teams that made it to the second, or made it to the weekend, shall we say. And yeah, Virginia ended up losing to Tennessee, but that was a brand new roster that Virginia had. Texas has made it to the Sweet 16. It wasn't a brand new roster, but it was a brand new coach and a brand new coaching staff and several new players. Iowa was a brand new roster with a brand new coach. And you can go down the list. Like, there are several programs like that where you can take heart in, hey, this could get better relatively soon. At Arkansas, under John Calipari, they went from 2 years ago, they missed the tournament under Musselman, and now they've made the tournament 2 years in a row, and they're back in the Sweet 16. So it can happen, and it can turn around very quickly. But you need something to base the idea that it's going to turn around quickly off of, and that's what seems to be missing right now.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows what things are going to look like. So it's hard to have that hope. And that's when April 7th will hopefully be better, because we'll start getting an idea of the pieces that are coming in. And it feels like we're going to need a lot of pieces.
There's going to be a lot of need for pieces, just because so many pieces graduated.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some nice pieces in the portal. We'll just see if any of them can be sold on the Bloomington experiment at this point.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, any final basketball thoughts from the weekend?
March Madness is the best. That's my thought. It's if you ever get the chance to go experience a first weekend in person, definitely take it. It's awesome. I also forgot to mention that there were so many IU fans in St. Louis, specifically wearing IU football merch, which was awesome because it was simultaneously anti-Purdue and anti-Miami. So it was great. There was also an IU fan who, as I was doing a live shot outside, like right before it, was like, "Hey Grace, love your work." So shout out to whoever that was. I appreciate it. Glad that IU fans are everywhere.
Big Crimson Cast follower.
Yeah. They're like seeing me at my other job. But yeah, it was great. And I'm excited. Hopefully we get a lot of good competitive games this week.
That is my hope as well. So, and of course, this week, spring ball starts for IU football. I think started today. Turbo Richard had a tweet, I think, of doing some not cone drills, but whatever the rubber like things are on the ground. Like that was that. First open practice for media is Thursday. I will be out there for that. So I'm excited for that. And we'll have I think the spring game it might be exactly a month from now. Let me look.
What is the day? 24th?
Today's March 24th.
Yeah.
And the spring game is it's the 23rd. So it's slightly less than a month from now that we will have the spring game at Memorial Stadium. That'll be exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot warmer than the last time everybody was there.
We hope. Yes. We hope that it'll be warmer.
It will be 10 degrees.
I will never put anything past April.
Okay. That's
in
fair.
Indiana.
That's fair.
It's just a little too cold. But anyway, that'll wrap it up for us on the show today. Grace, as always, wonderful to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be on again. Hopefully a fun weekend ahead, and I'm excited to hear what you have from spring ball. I'm looking forward to your reports back next weekend or next week.
I'll see what I can file for you.
Yeah, please take some notes. Well, that'll do it for Crimson Cast. Thank you for joining us again. For Galen Clavio, I'm Grace Ybarra. Stay never daunted.